it just feels dirty.
But no, Sony, they have won the gaming wars, and so they're moving on to Hollywood, getting on the ground floor of those video game adaptation things. As Sony's working on a Horizon Zero Dawn and Helldiver 2 movie.
Helldiver 2 movie? Not they're just gonna skip right to the sequel?
Well, yeah, Helldivers 2, yeah. Well, Horizon has the best, has half of a good story, that Horizon, because the pre-apocalypse. Yeah.
Helldiver 2?
Helldivers is just that
what's that? Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, yeah. Helldivers is just Starship Troopers.
Yeah, first of all, why? And then second of all, why 2? What happened to 1?
Well, like I said, Helldivers
ago when I just said that.
Yeah, Helldivers 2 sold really well and it was really popular, but I don't know what Helldivers 1 was. It was 2015 is when Helldivers 1 came out, but it's like no one. I don't feel like it made waves, and just everyone went with Helldivers 2. So, but
I love the first Helldivers. I haven't played 2 yet.
During its CES 2025 keynote, PlayStation Productions head president explained how Sony plans to keep expanding its IP after adaptations of The Last of Us, Gran Turismo, Twisted Metal, and Uncharted. They announced that Sony Pictures is working on a fifth film adaptation of last year's hit Helldivers 2, while Columbia Pictures and PlayStation Productions are in early stages of developing a Horizon Zero Dawn movie. After an attempt of turning it into a Netflix series fell apart, the Horizon Zero Dawn movie will, like the game, tell the main character Aloy's origin story in a fallen futuristic world. All the information we have on this now. All right, money on the table. Will Aloy be black? There's
nah.
You know what? Given Hollywood's propensity to replace the gingers with black characters, you know what? I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, I don't see a world where Aloy will be a redhead and white. Like they can be, if you're gonna do black, you dye the hair, that's okay. But I don't see a world where we get like actual Aloy on the game in the screen.
For some reason, Hollywood hates gingers.
They refuse to. They always change it in some capacity, but and as we'll see here, they also announced a Ghost of Tsushima anime will be releasing in 2027 on Crunchyroll. Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which will probably tell the lore of everything. And here's something for you, Jesker. It is directed by the person who did the Duel of Star Wars Visions.
All right, that's good. That's good stuff.
That art's great. I'd rather see a fucking Bloodborne anime though. That would be terrific.
I mean, a Bloodborne anything. Give me a Bloodborne fucking.
Give me a Bloodborne lunchbox in the thermos.
Give me a Bloodborne lunchbox. Give me a fucking Bloodborne the flamethrower. The kids love this one.
The Super Soaker.
The T-shirt. Bloodborne anything.
Give me the T-shirt cannon. That's a Bloodborne T-shirt cannon that shoots out Bloodborne T-shirts.
Yeah, and then but Sony's still not done because we've known about this already. But the Until Dawn movie, we finally got confirmation it'll be new story and new cast of characters, which is good. That's what I wanted.
I guess because did Until Dawn? That just kind of came and went. It really didn't leave any kind of impact.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Until Dawn made crazy impact. Like it.
Wait a minute. What is Until Dawn? What am I?
Until Dawn is the movie choice driven game where the teenagers are in the cabin.
Okay. I'm thinking of a completely different game. I'm thinking of a completely different game. What was the game? It was a zombie game. People said it was a Walking Dead knockoff.
Dude
was on a motorcycle.
Days Gone?
Yeah,
Days
yeah,
Gone?
that's it.
No,
That's
it's a
it.
Last of Us kind of rip off.
Yeah. That's
I
what I'm
like that
thinking
game
about.
though.
My bad.
No, that
Yeah, yeah.
Days Gone is good. We talked about that on the last stream.
Yeah.
Days Gone is good. It's criminally underrated. And
If you say so.
it's a better Last of Us 2 than Last of Us 2 was. There's even like theories online that Days Gone actually was a sequel to The Last of Us that got, or a spin-off of something that got repackaged, because there's a lot of similar things with it. And there's even like people I think have found like assets from Last of Us 1 inside of it or something.
Really?
I believe so. But like very early on in development, like it was changed. It became its own thing, I think, pretty early. But you can definitely, like, if you like Last of Us but wanted something a bit more open, Days Gone is good for that. But
yeah, Until Dawn's the one with like the monsters and
the monsters, and you're in the cabin and you're the teenagers and you're playing like a horror movie type thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That did have more impact. I was thinking about Days Gone. My bad.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before with like Until Dawn is, for this studio, is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
like it literally was just like it. None of the other games that the studio made reached anywhere close. Like they all reviewed terribly. They were shorter or more expensive or not. It's just everything was just like nothing was coming together like Until Dawn did, and it was just like it was lightning in a bottle. Like they've never been able to capture it again. So that's why they remastered it, and remaster is one of those remasters that makes it kind of look worse. So it's like that sucks. Like, and it didn't need a remaster. Like it just needed a port. But they were like, let's change the lighting, and it's like, oh, you fucked it. You ruined it. So.
No, that seems like a good plot to turn to a movie. Well, I mean, they're gonna change it, but I'm assuming the premise is going to be similar.
Well,
right?
so we'll read here. This was during that same press conference. Peter Stormare will be the only actor that returns. And then it says, I have been lucky to be part of the Until Dawn since the original, incredible, super terrifying game. And that's why I'm so excited to be part of this film, because this whole thing is a love letter to horror and it completely honors the spirit of the game. The movie is going to be full of fresh characters and victims and a brand new story loaded with twists. So whether you're a longtime fan or discovering it for the first time, get ready for Until Dawn like you've never seen it before. Expanded on how the film will be adapted, insisting it honors the original Until Dawn despite being a fresh take on the premise. The original game followed 8 teenagers spending a spooky night in the woods, with players' choice determining who they lived or died. The key to successful adapting these games comes down to one thing: respecting the source material. Our close collaboration with PlayStation Productions gives us a filmmaker's advantage, working directly with the creators of the game. It's a careful balance of trying to identify and incorporate what the fans love, blah, blah. David F. Sandberg, who is doing it, he did, I think Annabelle and like some of those, like, he's a horror guy. He's a big fan of widely acclaimed game, took the essence of what makes the game great. Core premise: group of friends who encounter a variety of terrifying threats to tell a new story that is truly visceral and horrifying. So it'll be something that will be just the group of friends in a cabin or whatever, and they have to survive until dawn. So
yeah, so same premise, different cast,
completely different story. I don't think we're gonna get Wendigos and all that stuff. I think we're gonna get a whole, not even in like the Blackwoods or Blackwood Pine or whatever it's called, the that area. It might be snowy. They got to keep the snow aesthetic. You got to keep that.
Well, okay. So what's the point?
Well, I think because if we look at it in two ways, of either Last of Us or I don't know what would be the opposite equivalent, but like do something that's like 1-to-1 of the thing so that other people can get into it, or we have this name and we want to work with that IP, but also I hope they at least reference the game in some way. But like, you have the movies and you have the movies inside of the universe that you can do stuff with, and you have that kind of thing. So I hope they reference it. But yeah, the other part was the Until Dawn game had Hollywood actors in it. So you couldn't retell that story because everything would be worse, because it would be different, right? It's already a movie as it is.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're just going to do Until Dawn and name only, you're gonna you're gonna polarize, like
alienate.
Yeah, alienate. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. You're gonna alienate the people that like the game, and I don't know, man. Like that, it's just.
It's not gonna pull any because Until Dawn is based off the video game, so it's not gonna pull any like new fans into the video game because it's gonna be completely different from it.
I just think it's kind of a silly move.
I think, well, if you think about it, you will always pull people into the video game because you're not telling the story of the video game, right? Like the video game is story based. Like it's not like something like Last of Us where you could be like, yeah, like you could re-experience the story, but also like you can play it where you're the, but Until Dawn at its core is a story game with choices. And while you can do different things, the best ending is the one where everyone lives and all that, and so, you'll always get, a different type of thing. But if you do like a Last of Us type adaptation of Until Dawn, you'd lose that impact for people who are going in and seeing the Wendigos. They won't see the Wendigos for the first time. They won't get that like reveal. They won't be able to build all that, right? They'll all that will be ruined. So I feel like you do a really good horror movie called Until Dawn based on the game by PlayStation, everything, everything's PlayStation, right? You get it in their heads, the teenagers and all that, whoever that watch this, they go home and they I have Until Dawn. It's on the PlayStation Plus collection. We download that and we play it, right? It's a whole new, it's a completely different story. And that's a whole new Until Dawn for them.
Does that not sound like a very confused approach to you?
I don't think so, right? Again, I'm trying to think of something that has done it before, where like it's an anthology, right? Like it's an anthology style story, and it's something that sits adjacent to the thing that doesn't override it.
I think I think what would be the best way to do this, if you wanted to tell an original story, is have it take place in the same universe, and you make references to the events of the game. In other words, the movie becomes kind of like a sequel to the game.
Yeah, there's that. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this isn't going to be a reboot of the franchise. I would hope. My hope would be it would be like my original thing would I wanted to be after Until Dawn, but in the same area with new people, and it's Rami Malek comes back, as is hinted at, but like that would have been cool. But you can still like Josh's parents were movie makers, so you have already all that stuff in there you can work with. And and Peter Stormare is back, and his character was a guy from the original, so he can be in it as well, or he'll just be like a narrator or something, or something spooky representative of death or something like that. But there's that. Then I realized what does it, and it's Fallout. Fallout does it. Fallout doesn't tell the story of one of the Fallout games. It tells the story inside of that universe, right? And so if you've never watched Fallout, you're like, oh, you watch it for the first time. If you have watched Fallout, it's like, it's a great Fallout story, and here's the thing I recognize, right? So
that's pretty much any superhero movie too. They never really tell any exactly the same stories from the comic books. So Marvel has been recently.
Let me ask you this though. What's going to be the connective thread? If they're not going to do the Wendigos, because the Wendigos could be the connective thread between the game and the movie. If they're not going to do the Wendigos, if they're going to do some other kind of creature, then there has to be something that connects those two threads.
I don't think they're doing a sequel. I think they're doing an anthology. I'd want them to do a sequel with the Wendigos in the cabin, like I described, but I think they're going to do an anthology.
Now, when you say anthology, in what way? Because
it'll be like same premise, right? Of the teenager surviving until dawn, right? And then dealing with the horrors of, whatever, and they got to fight off something or whatever, right? They got to survive it. And learning the lore and all that, right? But it'll be inside of the universe, but it'll be in a probably entirely different location, right? Like this could be in
well, that's not an anthology.
Yeah.
Well, it is if it's because it's telling a new story.
No.
But what I'm saying
an
is
anthology is a collection of different stories.
Yeah, and this is part 2 of the anthology. Like not something like a VHS or a
that's an anthology.
You know, yeah, that's an anthology because it's all part of one thing. But you can also it's called an anthology story if it's something that takes place within the universe, but is a different story. Like people wanted Last of Us 2 to be an anthology. I wanted Last of Us 2 to be an anthology. But no, spin-off would be if it was a separate thing, right? Like it's
wait, hold up. I think we're getting confused on anthology here.
Anthology is.
Hold up. A good anthology is one that has some sort of connective tissue between the different stories in the anthology, whether that be theme, whether that be some kind of lore thread that's being played out there, or whether it's like, oh, these are all teaching very similar lessons. Something like a good anthology always has a connective tissue. And what I'm getting at here is I don't understand what the connective tissue is between this story for the film and the story for the game, because you may say, well, it's the premise of the teenagers surviving monsters until dawn, until the morning. And it's like, okay, but that's also the premise of how many horror movies?
Yeah, well, and that's why that's why they called it a love letter to horror, right? So the creators,
the game was kind of generic anyway, too.
I'm looking for something that's unique about that game that can carry over to the film, and like what's that unique thing that defines it? That's what I'm looking for.
So there could be the elements of the choice. There could be the totems. There could be kind of that stuff. They might do the Wendigos as well, and they could be in a complete different. Like I'm talking like they could be in like the forests of like Washington or Oregon or something like that, or like the, you could the Wendigo stuff is spread around, so you could do it like, it's not snowy, right? Maybe it's fall time or something like that. I mean, it's
that's fine. If they use the Wendigos, that would be the connective thread I'm looking for.
Supermassive Games, the people that made Until Dawn, also made the Dark Pictures anthology, right? Which is a series of games where each game tells a different story, which to my knowledge there's no connection, I believe.
And that's not a good anthology.
But it is still an anthology.
It's an anthology, Wizard, but
yeah,
is it a good anthology?
No, I'm just saying that's like that we're, but also these were the ones we were talking about where it's like the none of these hit. Like everyone is just like, this is just awful. Like this is just like none of these are none of them hit the same. They all kind of like tried too hard. They also tried to do like twists like Until Dawn had, where it's like, no, the real threat is this other thing or something, and everyone's like, these are just not too. And then they did The Quarry, which isn't part of the Dark Pictures anthology, but The Quarry tried
these movies these guys did.
These are games that the Until Dawn game people made. Like these were these were their games right after Until Dawn or whatever. Man and Madame was 2019, but I think it honestly took them, I think, that long to make this whole Dark Pictures anthology. And then they were like, and then they did The Quarry, which was tried to recapture the roots of Until Dawn by being like an interactive horror movie thing. And then it still just didn't. I think more people played it, but in general, it just didn't hit like Until Dawn did, right? So hopefully this movie will really capture what made Until Dawn good. And like I said, I wanted a sequel of some way, this show to be like a spin-off sequel thing. So I hope they figure out what they're doing and do it. I am glad though they're not retelling Until Dawn, because I don't think they would have done it properly. However, I mean, there has been precedent of them doing shot for shot remakes of their Sony properties, but but still they're not done because there is another video game movie coming out as a Shadow of the Colossus movie that has been on pen for a while.
Ooh, I remember when this was first brought up back in the day. Yeah.
They're still, and is this a PlayStation exclusive as well? or is this a
Shadow of the Colossus?
Yeah, it's a Sony game. Yeah, it's a Sony published by
Yes,
Sony Computer Entertainment.
I believe it still is. I know when it came out originally, it was. I believe it still is.
Yeah. So still, they're continuing. They want the Shadow of the Colossus movie. Really, an insurmountable odd, just like the Colossi themselves. They've apparently been trying to make this movie for a long time, and they have revealed that it's still happening. 10 years, and now the possibility of making it finally opens up. Now,
God, please, yes, I want this, and you know what else? If this is successful, I want an Ico movie.
Never got to play Ico.
I haven't played either of them. Though. I'll be honest.
I've actually neither have I. I've never played Shadow of the Colossus either.
Now, question though, Jesker, if you've played this, is a movie retelling these things good, or should it be a show? Like one episode, one Colossi kind of deal.
You could do this in a movie.
You could do it in a show. I don't think the show would have a lot of longevity because the plot is rather simplistic.
Yeah, I think it would hit harder as a movie too.
I feel like if you would do this as a show, it's going to be a one and done season. No, I think you could do this as a movie. I think you can do this as a movie. Might need to be a longer than normal movie, like a 3-hour movie. But yeah, I think you could do this as a movie.
All right.
I think it would be fine as a 2.5 hour movie.
All right. I was just wondering because I only know that you take down a bunch of the Colossi.
But it's super emotional the way they do it. I've read a lot about the story. And
I've
played out.
You feel terrible when you kill these giants.
It's just ancient, peaceful deity beings, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this: the advantage of doing a movie is that you're going to have a bigger budget, and that's going to make the Colossi
scope.
The Colossi will look much more impressive.
Yes, yeah, it would be crazier.
So,
the dude who did Blade Runner 2049 to do that shit would look crazy.
I mean, that guy should really just do more. He could probably do anything, but
he hasn't put out not a bad film. All his movies are crazy too.
Still, Sony not done. They are just Xbox in the grave already. Sony keep shoveling on top because we got a new trailer for Last of Us Season 2 coming out in April. And I was watching this earlier, and we actually, we see a lot of things from Last of Us Part 2, which I barely know because I have not played it. But right here, we have Abby, who is played by Caitlin Dever, who I've seen in some things, but not the Abby that many people dislike because she is not crazy buff already, so they've kind of dialed back that, which will help a lot for audience hatred, I guess, so there's that already. This is her exploring the hospital, I believe, is where the Rat King, I believe, is that part of the game. But we get a glimpses of Ellie, and there's Dina, of course, the classic. We remember it from the reveal trailer. I know I remember it when they revealed it, of her dancing with Dina. And I will say that people have been saying that Bella Ramsey should have been recast, right? Because she does not look older. Ellie had a massive glow up between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then this just is she still looks like she's the 14-year-old girl, right? So I don't we've talked about it. I'm excited. I liked Last of Us Season 1. I don't like some things Last of Us 2 did. Well, I'm interested. I wouldn't say excited. I'm interested to see how they pull it off, if they change it, if they course correct, if they do anything, right? Because we've talked about it to death. You can keep largely the same story, the same scope, everything. You can keep it all. And still, you just got to fix that pacing. That pacing in Last of Us 2 is just a mess. And it completely ruins everything they were trying to do. And I think that doing it as, a show and doing it helps it a lot, and doing it with better pacing is just really what they just got to do. So
I was never a fan.
The optimist in me wants to say, maybe they can do a better job with the show than they did with the game. But at the same time, I really hate that fucking game, man. And it just has stained my outlook on anything Last of Us. I mean, it's like I have to fight with every fiber of my being to keep myself from throwing up right now. Like, I cannot stand that game, man.
I was thinking after this trailer came out, I'm like, well, I could probably play Last of Us 2 before the season 2 comes out. And I'm like, but do I actually want to play Last of Us 2? Like,
no, you don't. I can answer
like
that.
Better horror games.
I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna try and pretend like I'm your mother. It's like, sweetie, I know you think this is what you want, but you don't. You don't want this.
Damn, you sound just like Wizard's mother.
How
story.
Would you know what Wizard's mother sounds like?
We'll be right back.
The story is whatever. The story's a wash for me. I know it already. It may be the gameplay is what I would want, the upgrading of Last of Us 1, but at the same time, I'm just like, man, like, Last of Us 1 can be good when you're scrounging and doing all that, but then sometimes you're just like, man, this is just kind of like, it's more sneaking around and stealthing or shooting and guns blazing. And then they made all that kind of harder for Last of Us 2. So, I still think this season 2 will be good, because if it's not, then the season 1 fans will have to experience the same level of pain that we all went through, so.
You will know my pain. You will suffer as I have suffered.
I'm glad also there's no hinting of any golf outing either. Like, and then this shot, people have already pointed out, will be the shot right before Ellie like brutally beats someone to death. So, like, we'll see how they do that. I expect them actually to change a lot and possibly push a lot of what's in season 2 to a season 3. I don't know why they would try to rush everything into a season 2, and possibly ruin their own potential, because once if this season 2 is everything, hello One Gun, if this season 2 is everything, right, then you either have to release Last of Us 3 game first, or you start going off to Plantation and making Last of Us 3 season 3, and it's all new stuff, right? And then is that going to be what the game 3 is, right? So, because HBO is going to want episodes, right? If this does well, it's like, well, we want more stuff. It's like, well, okay, story's done, right? So you got to wait till we finish Last of Us 3, and we're going to do this space game first or whatever, right? Like, no, the fuck you ain't. Like, you get back in there, you give us, like, imagine if HBO was like, yeah, so Joel dies first episode. It's like, no, the fuck he doesn't. like, Pedro Pascal's a big deal in Hollywood. We ain't getting rid of him. Like,
it's like, have you seen Pedro Pascal's contract? Dog, we got him for 5 more seasons. Like,
you ain't killing him off, right? Like,
we paid good money for this man.
Like, yeah, that would honestly be the best, like, copium that you could get. Is it's like, yeah, the Last of Us 1 or Last of Us 2, HBO paid him to not kill off Joel. So
I would love it. I mean, if they decided to incorporate, I guess, the quote unquote best parts of Last of Us 2
is the flashbacks.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what I said, like, give us that for season 2 and give us part of Abby's story, and then give us hype for season 3, which is Abby going after Joel. And then season 4 is Ellie going after Abby. It's right there. Like, so.
I agree with you, man. And I'm going to be honest with you. Even if they don't go that route, I don't see how they can get everything from Last of Us 2 into a second season, because there's just between the flashbacks, between the beginning with Joel, and everything going on in the present day, there's just a lot to cover.
Dina's actress looks really good, I'll say. Like, this looks like face model.
She does,
from the game.
Yeah, I agree.
And they always, like, the costume departments also always nail it too. Like, this is the exact like red shirt, and this is the flannel that Ellie wears, and like they nail it. You know, we're seeing more Tommy, which is both a good and a bad sign. There's a shot too of Tommy and his wife where Tommy's crying, and so it's like that doesn't bode well. I don't like that. Don't do it. It's a bad call. You know, this I guarantee is where like Ellie, like the whole like demasculating scene that everyone always talked about, where like Ellie rips into him and all that. I guarantee that's what this scene is. With Joel crying. Yeah, so I don't know, like we'll see if they figure it out, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. You know, there's only so much time left, and once it's out, I guess we'll be watching it as it's coming out, and we'll give our thoughts on it as the episodes drop. But
yeah, it's
generic slop.
I really hope they take your advice, man, but I mean,
it's in God's hands and Druckmann's hands, and
yeah, man, I'm worried, man. And maybe it's just a bias coming off the game. Maybe that's it, but we'll see. Yeah. I'll give them a fair shot. That's all I can do. That's all I can get.
So, not to be, and then finally coming in at last place, as they always do, Nintendo, the last of the big three, the smallest of the big three, the lamest of the big three games. Whoa. They always suck. But one thing that everyone is always clamoring for